I signed the papers, handed over the keys to my own house, and drove straight to the Greyhound station. I didn't look back. Not once. 3 days earlier, my son had called me worthless in front of his entire staff. He said I was holding the company back. He said the business would thrive once they cut the dead branches. And when I asked what he meant by dead branches, he laughed and said, "Come on, Mom, you know exactly what I mean." But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning. My husband Richard and I built Harrison Catering from nothing. We started in 1987 with a used van, 3 folding tables, and recipes my grandmother brought over from Ireland. Richard handled the business side. I handled everything else: the cooking, the staff, the clients, the emergencies at high AM when a wedding cake collapsed or a delivery driver quit. For 31 years, we built that company together. We catered governors' inaugurations, celebrity weddings, corporate events for Fortune numchum companies. By hanging Lam, Harrison Catering was doing $12 million a year in revenue across New Jersey and New York. Then Richard had his stroke. It happened on a Tuesday morning in March. He was reviewing invoices at the kitchen table, drinking his second cup of coffee, and suddenly he wasn't there anymore. His eyes went blank, his mouth drooped. I called Jingjammuimot and held his hand and told him everything would be okay. It wasn't okay. Richard survived, but he was never the same. He couldn't walk without assistance. His speech was slurred. His sharp business mind, the one that had navigated us through recessions and market crashes and difficult clients, was gone. He needed full-time care. Our son Marcus stepped up. At least, that's what I thought at the time. Marcus was 32 when his father had the stroke. He'd been working at the company for about 6 years, mostly in sales and client relations. He was charming. I'll give him that. Clients loved him. He had his father's easy smile and his mother's stubborn streak. "Let me handle things, Mom," he said, putting his arm around my shoulder in the hospital waiting room. "You focus on Dad. I'll keep the business running." I was grateful. Exhausted. Terrified about Richard's prognosis. So I handed over the reins without a second thought. That was my first mistake. For the next 2 years, I split my time between caring for Richard and checking in at the company. Marcus assured me everything was fine. The numbers looked good, he said. Revenue was up. He'd hired some new people, made some changes. I should have paid closer attention. But I was watching my husband of 43 years fade away, piece by piece. Some days he recognized me. Some days he called me by his mother's name. Some days he just stared at the wall and didn't speak at all. Richard passed away on a rainy morning in October, Haingin Lea Haimui. He was 71 years old. I buried my husband on a hillside in Newark, next to his parents. My son delivered a beautiful eulogy about legacy and family and carrying on traditions. I believed every word. 3 weeks after the funeral, I went back to the office. I thought I'd ease back into work, help out where I could. Maybe train some of the newer staff on recipes they'd been getting wrong. When I walked through the door, I barely recognized the place. The walls had been repainted. Modern art hung where our family photos used to be. My office, the one I'd worked in for 3 decades, had been converted into a break room. There was a ping-pong table where my desk used to be. Mom. Marcus came out of what used to be his father's office. He was wearing a designer suit I'd never seen before. "What are you doing here?" "I work here," I said. "Remember?" He laughed. Not a warm laugh. Something else. Right. Listen, we should probably talk about that." He led me to a conference room I'd never seen before. The walls were glass. Very sleek. Very cold. A young woman I didn't recognize was already sitting at the table. "Mom, this is Brittany. She's our new Chief Operations Officer." Brittany couldn't have been older than 28. She looked at me like I was a delivery person who'd wandered into the wrong building. "Brittany's been instrumental in modernizing our operations," Marcus continued. "We've restructured the entire company over the past 2 years. New systems, new workflows, new approach." "I see," I said, though I didn't see it all. "And where do I fit in?" Marcus and Brittany exchanged a look. The kind of look that means they've already discussed this. Already decided. "We were thinking something in a consulting capacity," Marcus said carefully. "Maybe you could come in once a week, review some menus, Give your thoughts? Once a week. To start, I felt something cold settle in my stomach. Marcus, I built this company. Your father and I built this company. I'm not some consultant, Mom. His voice had an edge now. Things have changed. The industry has changed. We can't keep doing things the way you and Dad did them 30 years ago. The recipes are the same. The quality should be the same. The recipes have been updated. Brittany spoke for the first time. Her voice was smooth and confident. We've brought in a new executive chef, someone with modern training. The feedback has been very positive. You replaced my recipes? We evolved them, Marcus said. For a contemporary palate, I should have walked out right then, but I was still grieving, still confused. I told myself I was overreacting. That change was natural. That my son wouldn't betray me. That was my second mistake. For the next 6 months, I tried to find my place in a company I no longer recognized. I came in 3 days a week, then 2, then 1. Every suggestion I made was politely ignored. Every recipe I tried to restore was quietly changed back. The young staff looked at me like I was a museum exhibit. Something from another era. Then came the board meeting. Marcus had brought in outside investors during the pandemic. I didn't know the details. He said it was to help with cash flow. He said everything was under control. He said, "Don't worry, Mom, I've got this." The board meeting was in January. I wasn't supposed to be there. I only came because I'd left my reading glasses in the conference room the day before. I was walking past the glass walls when I heard my name. "Eleanor's becoming a liability," someone was saying. I stopped, pressed myself against the wall outside, listened. "The clients don't want to deal with her anymore." That was Brittany's voice. "She's out of touch. She doesn't understand how we do things now. She's my mother, Marcus." But his voice didn't sound defensive. It sounded tired, embarrassed. "She's dead weight," Brittany continued. "I'm sorry, Marcus, but she is. She's costing us money. She's slowing down operations. The staff are uncomfortable around her." A pause. A long one. Then my son spoke. "I know. I've been trying to phase her out gradually, but she won't take the hint." "Then stop hinting," another voice said. "One of the investors. Just tell her the truth. She's not needed here anymore. She won't accept it. Make her accept it. This is a business, Marcus. We didn't invest $3 million to subsidize your mother's feelings." More laughter. Several people, laughing, and then my son's voice clearer than before. "You're right. It's time to cut the dead weight. I'll handle it this week." Dead weight. My own son called me dead weight. I didn't confront them. I didn't make a scene. I walked out of that building with my head high and my hands shaking and my heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. I went home and sat in the dark for a long time. This was the boy I'd nursed through chickenpox and nightmares, the boy whose scraped knees I'd bandaged, whose homework I'd helped with, whose dreams I'd encouraged. I remembered him at 5 years old, standing on a step stool in my kitchen, carefully stirring a pot of soup with a wooden spoon. I remembered him at 10, at 15, at 20. His wedding day, the pride in his father's eyes. Where had that boy gone? When had he become this stranger who laughed about cutting dead weight? Maybe he'd always been this person. Maybe I just hadn't wanted to see it. "Love makes you blind," my grandmother used to say, and there's no love more blind than a mother's. 3 days later, I went to see Arthur Levinson. Arthur was our family attorney. He'd handled everything for Richard and me since the early 90s. "Eleanor." His face went pale when I walked in. "I didn't expect to see you." "Clearly not." I sat down across from his desk. "I want to understand exactly what's happened to my company, Arthur. And I want the truth." What he told me over the next 2 hours made the betrayal at the board meeting feel like a paper cut. Marcus hadn't just pushed me out of the business. He'd legally maneuvered me into a nightmare. During the pandemic, the company had taken on significant debt. The PPP loans were legitimate, but there were other loans too. Personal loans Marcus had taken out using company assets as collateral. Loans from investors who wanted guaranteed returns. The total debt was over $2 million. And through a series of documents I'd apparently signed without reading carefully, during those chaotic months when Richard was dying. My name was on all of it. Not Marcus's. Mine. He transferred the liability to you, Arthur said, his voice heavy. If the company fails, and frankly, Eleanor, it's not looking good, you're personally responsible for the debt. Your house, your savings, everything. I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. How is that possible? How could he do that? The documents you signed gave him broad authority to restructure during your period of caregiving. He used that authority creatively. Arthur paused. I should have caught it. I should have protected you. I'm sorry, Eleanor. You knew about this? Not until last month. When I found out, I tried to contact you. Marcus intercepted my calls. He told me you were aware of everything and approved it. I sat there for a long time, processing, grieving, raging. My son hadn't just rejected me. He'd set me up, made me the fall guy for his bad decisions and reckless spending. He was going to walk away clean while I lost everything Richard and I had spent our lives building. What are my options? I finally asked. Arthur spread his hands. You could fight it in court, but that's expensive, time-consuming, and the outcome isn't guaranteed. The documents you signed are technically legal, so I just accept it? Lose my home? Lose everything? There might be another way. Arthur pulled out a thick folder. I've been doing some research. The way Marcus structured these loans, he created what's called successor liability. If you take control of the company, the debt stays with the company. If you walk away, the debt follows you personally. So I need to take back control of my own company. Yes. But Marcus won't give it up willingly. I thought about it all night. I didn't sleep. I just sat in my living room, surrounded by 43 years of memories, and thought. By morning, I had a plan. I didn't fight Marcus directly. I didn't confront him or argue or beg. Instead, I played a different game entirely. I signed my house over to my niece Janet. Just temporarily, I explained, just to protect it while I figured things out. Janet didn't ask too many questions. She knew something was wrong. Then I liquidated everything I could. My car, my jewelry, Richard's vintage watch collection, the antique furniture we'd spent years accumulating. Everything that was legally mine and couldn't be touched by creditors. By the end of February, I had $800,000 in cash and nothing else. Marcus found out, of course. He showed up at my door, furious. What are you doing? He demanded. You're destroying everything. I'm protecting myself, I said calmly. From you. Mom, you don't understand the situation. I understand perfectly, Marcus. I know about the loans. I know what you did. I know you set me up to take the fall for your mistakes. His face went through several emotions: shock, shame, and then, finally, defiance. The business needed restructuring. Dad's way of doing things wasn't working anymore. Your father built that company from nothing, and he let it stagnate. He was stuck in the past. You both were. I did what I had to do to modernize, to compete, to survive. By stealing from your mother? I didn't steal anything. I made strategic decisions. I looked at my son for a long moment. Really looked at him. And I realized I was never going to reach him. Whatever had happened to turn him into this person, I couldn't fix it with logic or love or confrontation. So I did the only thing I could. Goodbye, Marcus. What? Mom, we need to talk about this. No, we don't. I opened the door wider. Please leave. You can't just walk away from this. Watch me. He left. He was still talking when I closed the door, but I wasn't listening anymore. 3 days later, I bought a bus ticket to Savannah, Georgia. Why Savannah? Because I'd visited once, 30 years earlier, with Richard. We'd eaten the best shrimp and grits of our lives at a little restaurant on the river. We'd walked through the Spanish moss and the historic squares and said, maybe someday, when we retire. Someday had arrived. Not the way I'd planned, but it had arrived. I arrived in Savannah with 2 suitcases, $800,000 in a money market account, and absolutely no idea what I was going to do. I rented a small apartment in the historic district. I walked the streets for hours every day, learning the city, finding my bearings. I ate at every restaurant I could find, Not to enjoy myself, though sometimes I did. To research, to understand. Savannah had a thriving food scene, but it was also surprisingly underserved in one area. High-quality cooking education for home cooks. There were fancy culinary schools for aspiring professionals, and there were sad little community center classes where bored retirees learned to microwave casseroles. But there was nothing in between. I saw an opportunity. I spent 3 months planning. I found a space in a converted warehouse near Forsyth Park. I negotiated a lease. I hired contractors. I developed a curriculum based on everything I'd learned in 31 years of professional catering, adapted for enthusiastic amateurs. In September 2021, I opened Eleanor's Kitchen. The first month was terrifying. I'd spent nearly all my money on the build-out and initial operating costs. If this failed, I had nothing left. But it didn't fail. Word spread slowly at first. A positive review in a local lifestyle magazine, a mention on a morning talk show, then a food blogger with 100,000 followers took my Southern Classics class and raved about it online. By December, I had a 3-month waiting list for my most popular classes. By the following spring, I'd hired 4 additional instructors and expanded into the adjacent space. We started offering corporate team-building events, private dinner parties where guests learned to cook their own meal. Specialized classes in everything from pasta making to pie crust to traditional Southern cuisine. I was working harder than I'd worked in decades, and I was happy. Genuinely, deeply happy. The money helped, of course. By the end of my second year, Eleanor's Kitchen was generating over $2 million in annual revenue. I'd paid back every investor. I'd bought a little house on Jones Street with a courtyard garden where I grew herbs and tomatoes. But it wasn't about the money. It was about building something new, something that was entirely mine, something my son couldn't touch or corrupt or take away. I thought about Marcus sometimes. I heard through family members that things weren't going well for him. The investors had gotten impatient. Brittany had left for a competitor. The company was bleeding clients. I didn't feel satisfaction exactly, just a kind of tired vindication. Then, 3 years after I'd left New Jersey, Marcus called. I almost didn't answer. I stared at his name on my phone for a long time. Finally, curiosity won out. Mom. His voice was different, smaller somehow, tired. Marcus, I heard about your school. It sounds amazing. It is. A long pause. I messed up, Mom. I messed up everything. I know. The company's gone. We filed for bankruptcy last month. The investors are suing. Brittany's gone. Everyone's gone. I didn't say anything. I just waited. I lost the house too. Sarah left me. Took the kids to her mother's place in Connecticut. Sarah was my daughter-in-law. We'd never been close, but I felt a pang of sympathy for her anyway. And for my grandchildren, who I hadn't seen in 3 years. I'm sorry to hear that, Marcus. Mom, I need help. I don't have anywhere to go. I don't have anything. And there it was. The moment I'd imagined 100 times. My son, humbled, broken, coming to me for help. In my fantasies, this moment had felt triumphant, justified, a perfect karmic reversal. In reality, it just felt sad. What exactly are you asking for? I said. Could I come down there? Just for a while. Until I figure things out. Maybe I could work at the school. I know about business operations. I could help. I thought about the last time my son had helped with operations. The debt, the lies, the word dead weight spoken in a glass conference room. I need to think about it, I said. Mom, please. I'll call you back. I hung up before he could say anything else. That night, I sat in my courtyard garden and watched the stars come out over Savannah. The jasmine was blooming. The air smelled like honey and salt from the river. I thought about forgiveness, what it meant, what it cost. I thought about my grandmother, who'd fled Ireland during the Troubles and never spoke to her brother again after a dispute over land. She'd carried that anger to her grave. It had made her bitter, hard. I didn't want to be bitter. I didn't want to be hard. But I also wasn't a fool. Not anymore. I called Marcus back the next morning. You can come to Savannah, I said. You can work at the school. Mom. Thank you. I knew you'd understand. We're family. Let me finish. You'll work at the school as an entry-level employee. Minimum wage to start. You'll report to my operations manager, Diana. You'll follow her instructions exactly. Silence on the other end. If you work hard and show me you've changed, we can discuss advancement in a year. Maybe 2. But there will be no shortcuts, no special treatment, no partner position. You'll earn whatever you get. More silence. And there's one more thing, I continued. You need to apologize. Not to me, though that would be nice. To the people you hurt at the company, the staff you laid off, the vendors you stiffed, the investors you misled. I want written apologies to every single one of them. Mom, that's dozens of people. I know. You can start with a list. I'll help you find contact information. This is humiliating. Yes, I agreed. It is. But humiliation isn't the worst thing in the world, Marcus. I know that better than most people. He didn't say anything for a long time. I could hear him breathing. Thinking. Okay, he finally said. I'll do it. All of it. Then I'll see you in Savannah. Marcus arrived 2 weeks later. He looked older, thinner. The expensive suits were gone. He was wearing jeans and a wrinkled button-down shirt, and he had bags under his eyes. I met him at the bus station. He'd sold his car months ago. For a moment, we just stood there looking at each other. Then he started to cry. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened to me. I don't know how I became that person. I hugged him. Despite everything, I hugged him. He was still my son. Still the little boy who'd stirred soup in my kitchen 40 years ago. I know you're sorry, I said. Now you're going to prove it. And he did. Slowly, painfully, with setbacks and frustrations, and moments where I wanted to give up on him. But he did the work. He wrote the apologies. He started at the bottom, and he stayed at the bottom for a long time. He learned to take orders instead of giving them. He learned to be humble. It's been 2 years now since Marcus came to Savannah. He's worked his way up to assistant manager. He's good at it, actually, when his ego isn't in the way. His ex-wife has let him start seeing the kids again. He's in therapy. We don't talk about what happened in New Jersey very often. But one night, over dinner at my house, he asked me how I'd done it, how I'd built something new from nothing at 63 years old. I thought about it for a while. You called me dead weight, I finally said. You meant it as an insult. But I took it as a challenge. I decided to prove you wrong, not because I needed your validation, but because I needed to prove it to myself. He flinched at the words. I can't believe I said that. You did, and it almost destroyed me. I took a sip of wine, but here's what I learned. The worst thing someone says about you can become the best thing that happens to you, if you let it. I don't understand. If you'd never called me dead weight, I'd still be in New Jersey, still clinging to a company you were running into the ground, still trying to hold on to the past. I gestured at the room around us, the cozy house, the evidence of my new life. This would never have existed. I would never have known I could do this. Marcus was quiet for a long time. So you're saying I did you a favor? I laughed. No. What you did was cruel and selfish and wrong. But I'm saying that good things can come from bad circumstances if you're willing to fight for them. I'm saying that sometimes the people who hurt you the most end up pushing you toward your best life, even if that's not what they intended. He nodded slowly. Thank you for giving me another chance, Mom. I know I didn't deserve it. No, you didn't. I reached across the table and squeezed his hand. But that's what family does. We give each other chances we don't deserve, and we hope people grow into them. Where are you watching from today? I'm curious, because this story seems to resonate with people everywhere. Leave a comment and let me know if you've ever been called dead weight by someone you loved, if you've ever been dismissed or discarded or underestimated. I want you to know something. That's not the end of your story. It's just a chapter. A painful one, yes, but chapters end. The question is, what will you write next? I chose to write a new beginning. At 63 years old, with a broken heart and a bus ticket to Georgia, I chose to start over. And it was the best decision I ever made. Not because of the money or the success, because of what I learned about myself, that I was stronger than I knew, that I could survive betrayal and come out the other side, that my worth wasn't determined by what my son thought of me, or by the company I'd helped build, or by anything except what I chose to create with my own two hands. My name is Eleanor Harrison. I'm 68 years old. I run a cooking school in Savannah, Georgia, and I've never been happier. Sometimes the dead weight turns out to be the thing holding you down, and sometimes the best thing you can do is let it go and rise. Don't forget to like and subscribe if this story moved you. And remember, your next chapter is waiting to be written. Make it a good one.